So we're here now with Tofi, and he is a psychologist, and he's going to talk to me about mental health and the effects of social media on mental health. Actually, I have a lot of questions, and I've been getting a lot of questions about it. Tell me about this, generation, this year, 2019. What are the differences you've been seeing over the past years? Well, I heard from a few doctors that there have been younger children who are going to see psychologists and psychiatrists to talk about depression or something to do with their mental health.
Okay, actually, Belle, if you will look at it into one setting, primarily people nowadays substitute personal interaction for computerized interaction. So they use social media in order for them to really get along with people. And the problem there is that social media then presents a very destructive facade, because the person is not really allowed to be himself or herself. Now, it goes both ways. It becomes a very good protection for those who are shy and not that outgoing, but it also becomes an avenue for pressure for those who are very much into it.
Let's talk about the pressure. Why is there such a pressure to be part of social media? I know that the Philippines, I think, is maybe the #2 user of Instagram in the
Facebook.
whole world, and Facebook, there's like 100% penetration. Why are parents and the younger generation feeling this pressure?
Okay, because primarily Filipinos are very sociable individuals.
That's true.
We don't want to be left out. Okay, there's always this thing among Filipinos that what is the in thing, we want to jump to the bandwagon and be a member of that.
Okay.
Now, when Facebook opened up, everyone wants to be a part of it. What happens here is that we now try to identify ourselves with the people that we follow in Facebook.
Yes.
So because we are trying to identify ourselves with them, we now want to achieve a level or a status that they are experiencing. And because of that, we are also pushing ourselves too much to be in that status. For example, a lot of people will have what we call vacation goals or travel goals. Okay? And whenever they post those travel goals in Facebook, those people who are reading about it then start to question what they have.
Yes.
They say, okay, I'm the same age as him, I haven't been to that place, what's wrong with me?
Yes.
So it then starts a cycle of self-doubt. And then from there, if the person's psychological health is a little bit unstable, the problems start. So you now become a little bit more annoyed with who you are, you don't become dissatisfied with what you have, and the depression will settle in. Sometimes it can be a little bit positive, it can motivate you to work a little harder.
Yeah.
But sometimes it can also develop a lifestyle that you cannot sustain.
Yeah.
So Facebook can be inspirational in that sense, but it can also be very destructive.
Yes, because I also found that, yes, there are times where you're on Instagram or you're on Facebook, and then when you go off it, you just, feel so bad, and you're like, where does it stem from?
Yeah.
And I feel like you're right, because you self-doubt, and then you kind of have that maybe jealousy
Yes,
or envy
definitely.
brewing inside you.
Definitely. And you also start to question yourself, even though for a fact that you also have your own achievements to be proud of.
Yeah.
Diba? So it then becomes a battleground of who's who.
Yeah.
When you go into social media. And unfortunately for us Filipinos, we also have this attitude of one-upmanship.
Yes.
Okay. If you have this, I'll have this one, and I'll make sure that it's bigger and better than yours.
Okay.
Social
Do you
media.
think that's in our culture?
Oh, definitely. Let's put it this way.
I didn't know that.
If you go, for example, to the middle-class income communities, one household will then have an extension, and then another household will have an extension. Now, the one in the middle will then ensure that his extension of the house will be a little bit grander than the two other neighbors that flank him. It's like that. There's a one-upmanship attitude among Filipinos. If that's what you have, I'll have something better than yours.
Okay.
And Facebook becomes a readily accessible and yet very dangerous media in which this kind of behavior can then develop in a very bad way.
Okay. Oh my gosh, how scary.
That's why, it's also important and very imperative that parents really try to check what kind of pages or who are the friends that their children log on to in Facebook. Because primarily, it is the responsibility of the parents to at least, not necessarily secure, but to orient the child on which is right and wrong.
Okay, but I also feel that parents, tend to do the same or feel the same. What I'm saying is, like, parents experience this as well.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And it's even an expanded level because for adults, it's a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
That's why, for example, nowadays a lot of people then get a little bit easier when it comes to the midlife crisis because they now start to question themselves like, how come that this guy who is younger than me has achieved more than what I have?
Yeah.
And I'm a 40-year-old guy who's living in, let's say, for example, with his parents, and I haven't left off in my career. So it then brews more problems.
Yeah.
If I would say so, just to give some balance, I think the best benefit of Facebook is that, and social media in general, is that it connected a lot of people, especially those Filipinos who are living abroad. I think that's the best benefit that we got from that.
Yeah. It's definitely connecting people.
Yes, but it also breaks them apart, so to speak.
I feel like also because we are constantly on social media. We're always exposed to it. It's become a habit where you check it. When you're waiting in the bank, you check your social media. And people zone out. And that's also the reason why phones have screen time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how can I be 6 hours and 53 minutes on my phone?
Yeah. Well, there's only one answer to that, and that's convenience.
Yeah.
Because of this kind of softwares, everything is in our fingertips. You want to hear the news? Go to social media.
Yeah.
You want to be entertained? Go to media outlets like YouTube or Amazon Prime, for example, that gives you quality programming.
Do you think like phone addiction is a real
Oh,
thing?
definitely. In psychology, there's what we call screen exposure addiction. And this happens with people who just can't let go of their gadgets.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them because primarily, from a biological perspective, we have a part of our brain, it's called the limbic system, that gets a little bit stimulated whenever we do that. Yeah, the dopamine is the chemical that it releases. And because of that sudden surge of happy hormones, we then feel so relieved, so happy about what we do, so reinforced of our action that we try to repeat it as much as we could.
Yeah.
That's why, if you will look at it, it has become a habit now that whenever we have free time, the first thing that we will do is to go to our phone or our laptops and check the internet.
You know, even in front of people, like if I'm with my husband or with some friends and family, I still want to be on my phone. Even if everybody I'm chatting with is there, I'm still on my phone.
Yeah.
Just because it's an addiction.
Not to mention, it gives you a protective barrier against a very sudden or a very intensive reaction that you might get from other people if you're talking to them personally.
Yeah.
It gives you a wall that keeps you safe from those kinds of battering. However, though, the only problem among social media practitioners is that because information is readily available to a lot of people, social humiliation is very rampant also.
Yes.
That's why we also have a term now called social bullying,
Yeah.
wherein the bully uses social media to really humiliate somebody else.
And they hide behind anonymity as well.
Yes. The problem is that social media can also promote a sense of validation coming from other people.
Definitely. Yeah, you're right. Talking about validation, we post a photo and we wait for people to
like
validate
it.
to like it, right? And
Yes.
that's why I heard that Instagram actually was toying with the idea of removing the likes.
Definitely.
Because it's a way of measuring. And this generation now is comparing. So it's like we have this metric system where we measure how many likes we have, and then we're constantly being hammered with different photos and where we compare each other, whether it comes to body or clothes or vacation or material things that we have.
That's very true.
And it all adds up.
Yes. And that's why from there, the person starts to doubt himself. And from the idea, the person then tries to stir up certain things that are already technically stable with him. And that's where the disorder starts. You get a little bit anxious. If I will post this, who will comment on it?
Yeah.
What kind of comment can I get from it?
Yeah.
Even though for a fact that what you just need to do is to really just validate yourself for your own efforts,
Yeah.
rather than allow other people to judge and mold who you are.
So you think that when people post something, they should have the intention. Like, what's my intention of posting this?
Definitely. It should have like, the motivation for me to post this is
Because
to just
I like
tell
it.
people that I enjoyed my vacation in this
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
It's not technically
To elicit,
to let people,
FOMO, or
exactly.
to elicit like, this is what I'm doing.
Oh,
What are
yes.
you doing in your office desk? Scrolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Also, it's also the intention. There's this parang saying on Instagram now. Well, it's something like, I find myself cute now, might delete later. It's very telling of this culture that if people won't like this photo, I'm gonna delete
You just
it.
take it out, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's very wrong because you don't
Yeah.
let other people decide who you are. At the end of the day, their comments will go away, but the effect of their comments on you will stay. And at the end of the day, you will be the one to really deal with it, not them.
You know, I experience social media anxiety, and I'm battling with it. And I think now I'm in a much better place. I feel a little bit more safe, but I try to compartmentalize because it's part of my work. So I'm like, okay, I have to do this because it's part of my work. But I still go through it. Like, I still at night thinking, okay, oh my gosh, tomorrow's another day. What am I gonna post? How do I deal with things like that? Like, social media, sometimes we value our self-worth on what our social media is.
Okay. Now, here's what I want you to think about. Whenever you need to post something, take out the idea that it has to be something palatable for others. Rather, you're going to post it because it was a part of a good experience that you had. That's it.
That's great,
now, whenever people comment, you can read it, you can understand it, you can try to imbibe if you want. But at the end of the day, this is what you tell. I do not have any control on what they think. It's their opinion. At the end of the day, it is me who knows the truth about who I am. And that is what I'm going to believe in. If other people say, you know, you don't look good, it doesn't match who you are, it seems a little bit off, at the end of the day, it's you who has the real feeling about what you posted. And that's what is more important that you need to hang on to.
Yeah, that's true. Because I'll be honest, like, you post things thinking about if other people are gonna like it. And actually, my husband always tells me that, but I don't care what other people think. I post this because this is my best memory of the trip.
Exactly.
And I'm like, yeah, but no one's gonna like that because it's, you know, I'm so shallow.
Yeah, no, it's not actually being shallow. It's actually a product of an evolutionary process that we have undergone for the last 100 of years.
I'm gonna repeat that to my husband.
Okay.
The product of
an evolutionary process that we have undergone through for hundreds of years already. We always become happy if other people agree with us. And it's a part of being in a group. When people start to create communities, they always have this motivation that because we are part of one community, we should agree with one another. People always has this motivation that you have to like me because we're together. Diba? Because we're kapwa Filipino or kapwa businessman or things like that, you have to like what I say. But it doesn't work. Each and every individual has their own thoughts, and those thoughts may or may not be the same as yours. And just have to accept that that's the fact of life. And the more that you fight it, the more that you lose.
And the more that you accept it,
the more that you get better.
It seems simple enough, but when you're on your phone and you're posting, you have social media, and you don't get likes, it's a battle, it's a struggle.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But I get where you're coming from. It's really exercising that mental, let's say, fitness and telling yourself that I'm doing this for myself.
The start is always the hardest part.
Yeah.
But here's what I always tell my patients. You're suffering right now, that's why you're talking to me. How long would you like that suffering to continue for yourself? How long are you willing to endure that kind of distressing feeling that you have right now? And when they say, now, you know what, I want to let go of this feeling right now, then okay, then start it. Sometimes because a lot of people say that I'm not yet ready, I don't think I have the right mindset just yet. But the truth of the matter is that when are we really ready?
Yeah.
Is there really such a rule of thumb that we can say, okay, now I'm ready?
Yeah.
There's none.
Yeah, it's just a cycle.
Exactly. You just have to start it in order for it to get going. And the more that you prolong it, all the more that you're just letting yourself suffer from something that should have been irrelevant in the first place.